10 years from now, will AI make your business dramatically more valuable or absolutely irrelevant? Our guest today will give us a practical blueprint on how business owners should approach AI, not only to stay competitive, but to build businesses that are stronger, more valuable, and built to last. Welcome to Business Beyond You, the one-stop hub for insights, conversations, and perspectives business owners need to build businesses that last beyond them. Hi, I'm Sara Vaziri, M&A advisor, and today I have a special guest. You know, AI is hot these days, but for some reason, my guest today is not one of those people who just talk about it. He can help business owners. And I'll let Scott to introduce himself. He will be doing better.
Well, first of all, I thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. And I just think the work that you're doing is fantastic, and it's so needed. It is so needed in the M&A world today. Yeah, I guess just real quick, I started my career as a young guy working for best-selling author and speaker Tony Robbins, and spent the early part of my career in the training industry. In my mid-20s, I moved to the Bay Area. I was early in consumer internet and was fortunate to be on leadership teams at companies like CBS Sportsline, NBC Internet, and FoxSports.com. And then I started a company that was like Expedia for private jets. And I sold it to the Virgin Group, and I ran it for those guys for a couple of years before really bumping into, by mistake, and falling in love with AI. And so today what I do is I help people and organizations transform faster so they don't get left behind in a world being reshaped by AI.
That's great. Just short and to the point. Okay, Scott, if you had just 2 minutes to convince a traditional business owner why AI matters, what would you say to them?
So I think that, when you have a business and your business is a successful business that you have, that you want to sell, that you plan to sell, one of the biggest mistakes that I see owners make is that owners love certainty, right? They like doing what they know works. And that works until the market changes, or the tools change, or the competition changes. And what happens is, if you don't approach the world with curiosity and openness, and kind of like looking at your business with a beginner's mind every single day, you run the risk of doing what used to work when things aren't working the way they used to, but more and harder, more and harder, more and harder. And it gets you further and further behind the competition. And from an M&A standpoint, it hurts your ability to get the highest value for your business. So the most important reason that you need to be looking at AI is because that's what buyers are looking at today. They're wondering, how efficiently do you run your business? What tools do you use to run your business? And is AI a part of that narrative? Just as important as your numbers in a business is the narrative taking place in the marketplace about what creates value for buyers. Mm-hmm. And so having an AI story that is somehow attached to what you do is so important.
That's a great point you said. I always say that in business, you need to have the energy to always be on top of everything. And if you are like at the time that, I'm tired, I cannot compete, that's the time that you really need to go out, or otherwise it will be late soon. And that's what you said. It's the best example of it. So what is AI actually? Is it another software trend, or is it really a transformational like internet?
Well, it's definitely transformational, and it's definitely translational, like the internet. But I would say it's like the internet on steroids. It's because it can impact and touch so many different parts of our lives, and the change will be so transformative so quickly. But really, as a business owner, what M&A or what AI is a tool, and that's really it. So, what happens is people think, they think to themselves, owners, they think, does the word A, first of all, they don't really understand what AI is, right? And it makes them a little bit nervous.
Yes.
And AI is nothing more than a tool that can help you accomplish a goal that you have in your business. Just think of it that way. Super simple. So what we always need to be doing as business owners is asking ourselves, where do I want to be in a year? Where do I want to be in 3 years? Where do I want to be in 5 years? What do I need to do to get there? What could get in the way? How am I going to solve all those problems? Are there tools out there that can help me to solve those problems faster and maybe with far less capital? And is AI one of those tools?
Mhm.
And so, we have a lot of different tools at our disposal. AI is one of them. It just so happens that AI is able to do a lot more heavy lifting than most of the other tools that are available to us or were available, to us before the last couple of years.
Mhm. So what you're saying is that because the competition might use those tools, AI tools, to do better than you, then you need to do that or you won't be able to compete with them.
Well, I think it's going to be hard. I think it's going to be very hard if you don't begin to integrate AI into your business in very simple ways.
Mhm.
We're not talking about completely changing your business. We're not talking about completely transforming your business overnight. What we're doing is we're talking about using tools in different areas of your company that can make those areas uh, run more efficiently,
Mhm.
run more effectively, reduce costs and things like that are all really attractive to buyers. And the biggest mistake, that again a lot of people make is with the businesses, they're so busy running the business that now having to think about this other thing seems totally overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like I already have enough on my plate. But here's what's important is that business is constantly changing and evolving. You don't need to stop everything. All you need to do is just go to like chatgpt.com and just type in, my name is, my first time here. How do I use this? Here's the kind of business I have. And just start to have a conversation with it. All you need to do, if you spend 5, 10, 15 minutes a day playing with one of these tools, you're going to start to see how it could have an impact on your business. So instead of it feeling AI like this big weight that you have to somehow carry while you're doing all of your other stuff, it's going to start to feel like a tool that's empowering and something that you're going to want to share and you're going to want to bring into your business.
And it teaches itself to you.
It does. It's going to learn all about who you are. It's going to learn all about your preferences, how you like to get information. It's going to learn all about your business. So the longer you work with, talk with, chat with, search inside of AI, the more targeted and the more relevant all the answers are going to be.
So I know that you work a lot with different business owners. Do you
Yeah.
have any general guidance that what kind of businesses need to act faster and what kind of businesses are a little safer, if you want to compare them? It,
Yeah, yeah. So I think that any business that has a lot of repetitive tasks, simple repetitive tasks, things like bookkeeping is an example, call centers. I think that those are the businesses that are at the most risk. What we tend to see is a lot of the interest in early AI adoption is coming from traditional, more mom and pop type like businesses. We see construction companies, plumbing companies, HVAC companies that are learning that, for example, one of the problems we just worked with an HVAC company, the owner had was everybody was out in the field most of the day, right? So you might have one person who was at the office. Sometimes it was a family member, right? Who was at the office, but then everyone else was out in the field. And so they would miss calls and they would
Mhm.
lose business. And so all we had to do was install a simple AI answering service that could not only make sure every call was received, but ask all the questions a human would have asked in order to gather information, schedule a follow-up call, and do all of that work. They don't miss a thing now. So there's some really simple things that you can do. And what we're finding is companies that are um, feel like they're a little bit more capital constrained or a little bit more resource constrained or people constrained are the ones that seem to be adopting this the fastest because they know these small, simple changes that they learn can just absolutely change their business.
Mhm.
like solving that one problem for an HVAC company.
Correct. And these kind of companies, without that much capital, now they can compete with the bigger players who probably have a full-time person answering the phone.
Well, that's right. They can compete with, first of all, they can take on more business, right? They can compete with a wider, with a wider competitive set. They can get better ratings on Google and Yelp and things like that that drive business because they're always on top of things.
Mhm.
And it might not even be a person that's on top of things. And what we've learned is that the people on the other end, the customer, they don't care that they're telling AI these questions. They care that they've got something on the phone that's listening, that's taking notes, that's getting those notes to the right person, that's scheduling a follow up. Like that's what they care about.
Mhm. Yes. And but even for any business owner,
Yeah.
bringing somebody to help them establish the AI, and sometimes even AI systems have some cost associated with
Yeah.
them. How do you identify this investment really have some kind of result that makes sense financially? Is there any guideline? And is there any specific size? How can you, for a business owner who is listening, what can you give them to, okay, so this would work for me, some kind of guideline?
Yeah. So a big mistake that owners make is, first of all, there's such a disconnect between what you see on the news and what you see in social media about where the market really is, right? So if you're talking about a company that has 100 people or less, only about 10% of those companies have actually adopted and have a plan and are using AI at all on the inside. If you have a company that has 10 people or less, the adoption rate's even lower. I've heard as low as 5%. So I just want you to know, if you haven't started yet, you haven't missed anything. This
Mhm.
is the perfect time. And it's really been in the past 3 or 4 months that we've started to see adoption accelerate in these smaller companies. So I think that's really important to understand. The second thing that's important to understand is the way most, particularly smaller companies approach, and when I'm saying smaller, under 100 people, approach adoption is they're just focused on whatever the tool is they hear they need to have by listening to their friends or social media. So the question becomes, oh my gosh, do I use ChatGPT or do I use Claude? Two very similar products, right? Which one do I use? And if I pick the wrong one, is my business doomed, right?
Mhm.
So they focus on that. My counsel is this: we want to focus on strategy first, right? Let's figure out, what problem do you want to solve? Like,
Mhm.
let's talk about your business. What problems do you want to solve? And then let's ask ourselves, could AI help to solve any one of those problems?
Mhm.
And then what would that look like? And then let's kind of stack rank in order of priority. What would have the highest benefit to you if we solve that problem first? Like the HVAC company, and not missing any calls. And we figure that out for you, whatever that is for you, or whatever that means. And then what we just do is we just take one thing at a time. We go at your pace. And that's the way to create change. You, you know, you don't have to do, I'll say it a different way. I think the biggest mistake that people make when bringing in new technology is they try and do too much at once. And I call this hammers and nails syndrome. So the idea is this: if we were to take one hammer and one nail, I gave you one hammer, one nail, your job's simple. All you have to do is bring the hammer back and drive the nail into a piece of wood. That's it. Well, you may miss the first, the second, the third time, but I'm going to bet on you. I'm going to bet you're going to nail it. So let's say give you two hammers and two nails. You've got a problem, right? First of all, you have to find somebody crazy enough to hold the nails for you, because you got to hold two hammers and you got to bring them back at the same time. You got to strike, and you're going to miss the first, the second, third time. You may never get it right. Let's say give you 10 hammers and 10 nails. You get the point. So
Yeah.
the biggest mistake that people make when trying to bring AI or any kind of new tech in house is they do too much. So what I say is this: don't focus on everything. Let's focus on one thing at a time.
Hmm.
The simplest thing, nail it, and then move to the next.
Okay. Okay. And this initial focus, do you
Yeah.
think it's better to be on the internal processes or customer facing processes? Which one do you see probably AI would be more effective, or does it depend on the business?
It's a good question. And I think it depends on what your goals are. So, for example, let's say I'm planning to sell my company, right? There might be some internal processes that I want to clean up because I hate the repetitive work. I don't like doing the task, whatever it is. But we know after looking at my business that if I were to generate another $1 million in sales over X period of time, the exponential factor that would have on the valuation of my company. And so we might want to focus on something that's more outward facing versus internal. So I think that's what we want to do is strategically, we want to look at what problems you want to solve. And then we want to basically have the context be, these are our goals in the next 6 months, year, 3, 5 years. And then we can decide what to put first.
Hmm. Hmm. So I want to go back to what you said that less than 5% are using AI right now. As somebody who is doing this full time and talk to a lot of business owners, what do you think would happen in 5 years from now? What percentage do you think that they adopt some kind of AI in their processes and their business?
Well, I think that, by that time, if you just take a look at the internet, and how it basically hit a tipping point around I think it was 1997. The internet first became commercial in December of 1994. We had the first browser like Chrome and Safari. It was called Netscape Navigator. And that was like our chat GPT moment. That was the moment we all saw this thing. We're like, holy, what the hell is this? This is
Yes.
so cool. Right. But in 1995, and I started my first internet company that month, December of 94. In 95, it was so hard to get companies to adopt AI. And in 96, it was so hard to get companies to adopt AI. And in 97,
You mean
it start
internet at
yeah,
that time?
I'm sorry, internet. It was so hard to get them to adopt the internet. And in 1997, things really started to change. And I think that's really the beginning of the internet, the real internet boom, the way we think about it. It's like
Mhm.
one day everybody woke up and they're like, I get it. I need a website.
Mhm.
Or I'm a storefront. I understand now. I need to at least have a web page,
Mhm.
even though I have a traditional brick and mortar store. And I believe that we're going to start to see that acceleration here over the next couple of years. The
Mhm.
challenge is if you're late to the party, you're no different than anyone else. The challenge is if you want to sell your business between now and the time everyone gets it, but you have an AI story to tell that's ahead of the rest of your market, right? That can be expanded on, that's valuable.
Mhm.
And it's really important to start thinking about this stuff now. I mean, people sell businesses. I always say when starting a business, you start with the end in mind, right? You want to figure out what is my long-term goal. And I always want to have 3 different companies that I'm going to sell this to. Right. And the reason is, even if I don't want to sell it ever, like on day one, I don't want to sell it. What I need an escape hatch, like on a rocket ship, because life happens. There could be a sickness in the family. Somebody could move across the country and it doesn't make sense for the business anymore. The market go in a direction that you're just not interested in, or you hit the 7-year itch and you just burn out, right? Which happens with a lot of business owners. And so, but the mistake that so many make is they don't do that. And so they get to the point that they want to sell their business, but they haven't prepared to sell their business. And then you have this 6-month or 1-year process that happens. You start to learn about what the market really values. You start to have somebody look at your financials and go, nobody's going to buy this. We got to clean this up. Right. So it's really important that you do that. I think the worst, one of the worst scenarios is if you have a good business and and you get sick, ill, you reach the end of your life, you die, you pass away, and now your kids have that business. And your kids are like, I don't understand the business. I don't want to be in that business. And it isn't set up to sell. What ends up happening is everybody loses the business and you lose the ability to transfer that wealth generationally and that business generationally. So it's
Which
really
I
important.
would say is a disaster for our whole economy because it's not hard, it's not easy to build those businesses, and we really need them to be saved for our
Yeah.
economy to be successful. So I totally agree with what you say. And I would say to the business owners I talk to that this is the time that you really need to be willing to adopt AI. If you are not that you don't see that energy inside you, maybe it's a time to go out because a younger person come in and
Yeah.
they are ready for this challenge. It's a big challenge coming to all of us. So either you need to be willing to fight for another 5 years to adopt this change, or if you don't have the energy, just go out
Yeah.
before it gets late. Because if
Yeah.
we get to the point that you just described in 2 3 years that a big portion of businesses have adopted and you are not there, you lose your business in a
You lose all your value. You
exactly.
lose, so it's passing on generationally. It's getting the highest multiple and getting the most value, and yeah, it's all that.
Awesome.
And I think you'd agree, you take a look at our aging population and we have so many baby boomers that want to get out of their businesses or are getting to a point in their life where they're not going to be able to maybe to have the vigor to run the business every day. Like you can't, life doesn't wait. You've got to get started now.
Yes, and I don't know if you have seen this reporting from McKinsey about the number of businesses that
Mhm.
needs to be changed hand, and unfortunately, with the infrastructure that we have, they are not ready. So we will lose a big portion of them. That's
Yeah.
one of the reasons I started this show. I just thought that okay, with education, maybe we can convince more people that you really need to work to get ready for that transition. But anyways. Scott, thank you so much for joining us in this episode of Business Beyond You. Please tell the audience what exactly you do, who you can help, and how they can reach out to use your help.
Oh, thank you. So, I work with business owners all over the world, and we go into companies and we just help them. We start by just helping them get started. We learn about their business. We talk about where it is that they want to go. We figure out what problems need to be solved, and how we could potentially use AI to do that. We typically run a readiness survey inside the organization, figure out where people are. Only 5% of really, smaller businesses may be using AI, but the odds are their people are using AI. They're using it at home. They're using it in their work and they're not telling you. It's just you don't know or you don't have a formal strategy. So we figure out where you are and then we train the organization and we get everybody up to speed. In addition, we go in and we help build agents and automations. We help solve problems, and AI is just a tool that we use to do that. I also speak all over the world, and so for anyone who's looking for a speaker at an upcoming event, looking for somebody to join their podcast, I'd love to talk to them. Best way to reach me is to go to scottduffy.com, SCOTTDUFFY.com, or hit me up on social media at Scott Duffy AI across all channels.
Awesome. And we will add all of your information under this video so they can find you through that as well. Again, thank you so much. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Awesome. Thank you.